How strict is God about his rules? How strict should he be? Uzzah was walking beside a brand new cart being drawn by a team of oxen. His brother Ohio was leading the oxen in front. All around the cart, the Israelites were celebrating with all their might before the Lord with castanets, harps, lyres, timbrels, sistrums, and cymbals. Among the celebrators was King David himself. They were celebrating because of what was on the cart that Uzzah and Ahio were guiding. Then the oxen stumbled. I don't know how often oxen do that, being none too familiar with any animal bigger than a dog, but doesn't that seem like it was bound to happen? It's not like they had paved roads. The terrain of Israel is hilly and craggy and rough, not to mention that there were people all around the cart celebrating with all their might. I don't know how loud a timbrel or a sistrum is, or even what they are, to be honest, but I've heard cymbals, and even having heard them before, they startle me every time I hear them. And I don't know how accustomed the oxen were to them either. My dog barks at me if I shift my weight in my chair too suddenly. Anyway, the oxen stumbled, and the cargo shifted. So Uzzah steadied it, because that's what you do when you're walking alongside a cart that your brother is leading and the cargo moves. You grab it, you steady it. You probably do it without even thinking. Before the thought, hup, the cargo's moving, can flash across your brain, your hand is up to catch it. Uzzah caught the cargo. And God got mad at him, and God struck him down, and he died there beside the ark of God. Because that was the cargo, the Ark of the Covenant. How strict is God about his rules? How strict should he be? When I asked that at the very beginning, your answers could easily have been something akin to very and also very, right? God does not give suggestions, he gives commandments. He doesn't give us guidelines, he gives us law. The law. God is very strict about his rules. And he should be, because breaking one of God's rules, that's sin. Every time, no exceptions. Sin is law breaking, and all law breaking is sin, and sin makes God mad. And sin deserves punishment. Every time, no exceptions. But then I distracted you, or tried to, with the details leading up to Uzzah's death, and you heard that he had a brother there with him when he died, and you heard that he died while serving his people and his God by leading the Ark of the Covenant safely to Jerusalem, and you heard that he died while trying to do a good job of it, while trying to make sure no harm came to the Ark. And when you heard all that, and you thought about how very strict God was with Uzzah, did you wonder at all about how strict God should be? Because even if I tell you that a cart was the wrong way to carry the ark, even if I tell you that the law of God had said that the ark was only ever to be carried on poles by Levites after the priests had covered it, even if I tell you that no one was supposed to be touching the ark at all, even if you know all that, still, it seems a bit harsh, doesn't it? Because it's not hard to imagine ourselves in Uzzah's place. It's not hard to picture ourselves doing the same thing with the same good intentions, and it makes it very hard to understand why God would need to be so strict. But put yourself in God's place and start by considering that he has already not destroyed all of humanity for their sin. He could have been that strict. From a law and order perspective, he probably should have, but he didn't, which makes every moment of every human life a gift of God's mercy. Start there. Next, consider why God hates sin so much. It's not for himself. Sin doesn't hurt him. It hurts us. It drives us away from him. In this time he gives us out of his mercy, sin hurts us and clouds our view of his mercy, of his love. And that's why he hates it. Because he loves us. And finally, remember that God only has one punishment for sin. It's hell. Being struck down dead at the side of the road. It's not great. Ignominious. But it's not hell. Not even close. And because of Uzzah's instant death, other people, including the king of Israel, learned to treat the Ark of the Covenant with more reverence, which means that they learned to treat God with more reverence, which means that they were better able to see his mercy and his love because he got mad and smote Uzzah. And Uzzah got to go home to heaven and never sin again, never make a mistake again, never again be in a position in which he couldn't help but act irreverently. How strict is God about his rules? How strict should he be? Perfectly. Every time. You and I are dust and breath, loved by God, bought by Jesus. This podcast is written and produced by me, Ethan Cherney, a WELS pastor serving Our Savior Lutheran Church in Pomona, California. Get in touch on Facebook at Dust and Breath Pod, on Twitter at Dust Breath Pod, or by emailing dustandbreathpod@gmail.com. Outro music is arranged and performed by Mr. Peter Shawy, who is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season and whose leaf does not wither. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you could leave a review in iTunes or just share an episode on social media, I'd really appreciate it. It's the only way other people can find the show. Now, go do what God made you to do. Be who God called you to be. Go see what God can do with dust and breath and faith in Jesus, his Son.